Hi guys, and welcome to our next video. We are now back again with another web server examples. We are here going to install XAMPP web servers, and this web server is coming with a MySQL database with Tomcat, and you're gonna see how it works in action. It comes with PHP and just many more stuff, not just simple web server. But in order to install how XAMPP works, you need to install to understand actually how the basic web server is. So I hope you watched my previous video about the Python one, and the Python web server is just the basic representation of web server. It's just demonstrating and explaining everything you need to know, like how the web server works, how can we go to the web server, how can we change directories, and what is the web root, most important. So now I think we are ready to install XAMPP. So go to your Firefox and navigate XAMPP install. So you see this is just a stack of multiple things like PHP, MySQL, Apache web server, and therefore Tomcat and FileZilla. So we have to choose here what we want. For example, here we have to choose what version of PHP we actually want, and there are versions for Linux and for macOS as well, and therefore there are multiple add-ons for installing different type of CMS, which is content management system. And some example of that is just WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and just as you can see many more. And there are tools that help us build websites easy and fast. They are just frameworks, mainly written on PHP, so they are quite often used. So let's here go and download, for example, the PHP 5.61. so click here to download, just save the file and wait the file to download. You can go and browse every single add-on you want and install every different CMS you want. Many of the companies do that. They use WordPress sites, they use Drupal sites, and they are quite commonly used. But when you go for such installations, always make sure that you are actually updated. So here, as we said, we are using Apache web server. Now let's go to the actual Apache page and see what information can we get from there. We are using that web server. So here we have the official page of the Apache server. So here we can actually download it directly from here. You see, from different FTP servers and different web servers. For example, if I go here and click that link, it's going to redirect me to other web servers where the Apache file is stored, but the first one didn't work out. So here I have different directories and different files. So go back. If you want to download the exact Apache version, you can download from the official page, and in Linux you're gonna see how can we download Apache in Linux. And this is just the basic web server. Okay guys, so now our XAMPP is actually downloaded, and to install it we just need to open my computer and go to downloads, and therefore use the installer right here. And now we need to follow the basic Windows installation where we're encountering multiple projects. Just click next, and you are actually ready to install the software. Now we go for next, and here we can actually specify what modules we want. Here, as you can see, we have the Apache as the module that we cannot disable because the XAMPP contains the Apache server itself, and it's the core of the XAMPP. Is the pack of Apache, MySQL. So here we can specify FileZilla FTP server. We can go for Mercury mail server, Tomcat. We can go for PHP as default one, and the one that we cannot remove. It stands with the Apache one, and we have a Perl. Therefore, we have the PHP MyAdmin, which is used for database administration. We have the Lepoizer and fake sendmail. We are going to keep all of them. Just click next, and now we have to actually specify our XAMPP directory. So in XAMPP for now is okay. Just click next, and okay, click so uncheck that module if you don't want any pop-ups to be here. So uncheck that and next. And as you can see, that's all you have to do about installing the XAMPP web server. Now it's going to unpack all the files, make all the installations about all the tools, like the PHP Pro. It's gonna unpack everything where it's supposed to, for example the PHP and now I'm gonna pause the video and wait the installation to complete, and I'm gonna be right back in just a second, guys. Okay guys, welcome back. Now our XAMPP is installed, and as you can see we have the check of visiting the control panel now, so just click finish. And this is gonna pop up with the control panel for the software. So save here for English. And now this is our control panel of our XAMPP software. Here we have the different tools like Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury and Tomcat. And now the XAMPP is not actually running. To run, we have to actually click the start button. And here you see we have log files and we have a config file where we can actually edit the configurational files of the PHP, MyAdmin, and of course the Apache one. So for example, if we go to the Apache one, we can see we have the server root and we have the root directory of the Apache one. So here we have on what port the server is actually listening. We are not touching that since we want to listen on the port 80, which is the default for HTTP. Therefore we have all the different modules that are going to be loaded since the Apache server is running. And this is like the basic configurational file of our web server. From here, as you can see, we can define modules, input custom options, and therefore change the port, change the directory, and just do the basic stuff. We have config files for MySQL, of course. We have config file for basically any service running here, for example, even the Tomcat. So here we are actually going to see and start the Apache server. So if I go to start, now my web server is running, and now I should be able to visit my web server. So if I go to web browser and eventually type localhost, we see we have the XAMPP dashboard. We have some information here. We have reference to some modules like WordPress and Drupal. So as you can see here, now we are not seeing any directories, we are not seeing any text at all, because the files that are stored in our web servers directory are presented in such a way that our browser are representing that as a page, and it's actually reading that HTML tags in a form that we humans can understand. So if I go and actually inspect elements using the combination of Ctrl+Shift and C on Firefox, click that, and now the pop-up window is gonna come with all the available HTML tags there. So you can go and actually analyze how the HTML page is structured and is actually written, but this is basically what the browsers are doing. They are getting some HTML content or some CSS content, and they just represent it and output as a way that we humans can understand. These are just all HTML tags, these are just all HTML text, but they are structured in such a way that it's actually nice for our eyes. And that's the point of actually developing front-end applications, to actually see how the application is gonna actually look, and to create bigger and better looks for the application, so it's easier to use and it's more comfortable to use. So the browsers, you can say that they are some kind of compilers to HTML, web compiler. They just take in the HTML tags and they represent them in a such way we humans can understand. So you see we have a dashboard here, we have the link. So that dashboard is hosted on our root directory. So if I go to our my computer, see and go for XAMPP, therefore we have to go to htdocs, and this is our root directory of our web server. So here we have the dashboard, and now we see all the informations, all the folders and all the files that are stored in the dashboard. So everything we can access there is basically a folder or a file. So you see applications.html. If we go here, we have vaq.html. So we have the path and the exact file. So you see there are some instructions and options here. We have how to, we have different page, we have patch friends. we have just basic operation and basic web page. As you can see, they're actually working quite the same as the Python one, but now we're getting into more advanced stuff. Now we are actually not listing just a bunch of directory and files. We are here just using that files in order to create such application and such visual effect that we get comfortable using. For example, we can click here for phpMyAdmin, and now we're going to be redirected to the phpMyAdmin page, but now it says that it cannot connect to MySQL because we did not start the MySQL server. So as you can see here, we have the MySQL server actually turned off. We have the Apache server running on ports. We have the process IDs of our Apache server, but MySQL is not running. So with the Apache server, the PHP is actually starting as well. So the one that is actually connecting the MySQL server with the web server is basically the PHP. That's the program that can easily write queries to the database, easily extract information from that database. So it's really easy to implement such actions with the language like PHP. So that's why the Apache comes with the PHP, because in most cases the Apache is going to be actually connecting with some kind of a database, and the connection is made through that language called PHP. So click start. You can of course make the connection to database with C if you want, but it's gonna be really hard and painful. So click here to start the service MySQL. You have the process ID of the server, and you have the ports that MySQL is running. You can of course configure that as well. And now if you actually refresh that page, we're gonna see the phpMyAdmin actual control panel. So as you can see, we are accessing the phpMyAdmin through our web browser, which makes that we access our PHP database throughout our web server. So keep the know that we are actually hosting a web server. That web server is connecting constantly with database using a PHP in that case, and that result, that outputs we get in a web browser using the web server as well. So the web server is connecting with the database internally, and the results, the output, we are using them in the web browser. So here we can go and create new databases, we can edit fields, we can create tables and modify tables. But this is a topic for another video. Now we are focused mainly on the web servers. So this is how you can install XAMPP on your Windows machine. You just need to actually find the installation based on your processor architecture. And therefore, this is how can you use XAMPP. You can put everything you want in the htdocs folder. This is the root directory of the web server. So everything host here is basically represented when you type the URL or the IP. So you can type everything in htdocs. There are multiple folders and configuration that you want to actually see and look. There are tools for like starting and stopping services. You can go and experiment with yourself all of that different tools. And now this is how you can install and use web server on Windows. Now we are going to see how can we install and use web server on Linux, and therefore we're gonna go and start exploiting that web servers. So I really appreciate you guys for watching, and see you in the next video where we're actually going to install Apache on our Linux machine. So stay tuned.